Eli Sanders had always thought humans were clever, but he had never expected to be standing in front of an alien queen, sweating through his shirt and accidentally committing himself to marriage. It was supposed to be a simple research mission. Study the Teleri, observe their biology, report back to Earth. Simple, but nothing about today was simple. The Teleri planet, Cythera, stretched beneath him like a living jewel. Forests of crystal-like trees shimmered in colors humans didn't have names for. Rivers of liquid silver curved across violet plains, reflecting the twin suns. The sky was a constant swirl of colors, almost as if the atmosphere itself had decided to display its beauty. The humans in Eli's team had spent weeks trying to understand how life thrived here. And Eli, well, he spent most of the time tripping over his own feet while staring at alien creatures that looked like a cross between a jellyfish and a dragon, but nothing compared to Queen Zyra. The Queen's chamber was enormous, circular, with walls that glowed softly, illuminating everything in calming blues and greens. The air vibrated with a quiet hum, a sound that felt alive. Eli's eyes widened as the doors slid open, and there she was, Zyra, the Teleri Queen, hovering slightly above the floor on a faint, shimmering energy field. Her form was elegant and terrifying at once. She had 6 arms, each ending in delicate, claw-like fingers. Her skin glowed faintly, like moonlight on water, and her eyes were deep pools of shifting colors, constantly moving, almost as if they were alive. Eli swallowed. He had seen alien leaders before, but never anyone like Zyra, and then, in a moment he could not explain, he did the one thing a human should never do in front of a Teleri monarch. He stared, not just a glance, not a polite acknowledgement. He stared directly into her mind. Teleri didn't just see with their eyes, they communicated telepathically. A human look, in their culture, could mean agreement, submission, or, in some cases, acceptance of life-changing vows. And Eli, nervous and distracted, didn't know that. Zyra's 6 arms folded gracefully. A silence fell over the chamber. The other Teleri in attendance stiffened. The air seemed to thicken. And then the Queen spoke not with words, but with a thought that Eli could almost feel vibrating through his skull. "You accept me," she said. The words were not cruel, but they carried weight. He felt them like cold water. Eli's eyes went wide. I don't," he began, but the Queen's mind was already racing faster than his own. "The ceremony is complete," she said to her court. "Eli Sanders, you are bound to me." Bound. Eli's stomach dropped. "Wait, no, that's not what I meant. I was just looking," but looking, apparently, was binding in Teleri law. The court erupted in polite murmurs, or at least as polite as 6-limbed alien beings could manage. Eli's colleagues tried to intervene. Dr. Neela, his team leader, was face-palming so hard it was almost audible. "Eli," she hissed. "Do something. Say something." Eli stammered, but his words sounded foolish in the glowing, vibrating chamber. The Queen's eyes shifted toward him again. They were no longer just pools of color, they were searching, analyzing, judging. "You will reside with me in the palace," Zyra said. "Your role as my mate begins immediately." Eli's heart thumped so loudly he was sure the Teleri could hear it. He had read about cultural misunderstandings before, but he had never expected one to happen so literally and catastrophically. "Mate?" he asked, his voice squeaky. "You mean not married, right? Just study partner?" Zyra tilted her head. "Mate, the term you humans use is spouse." "Yes, exactly. Not spouse. Definitely not." But no one seemed to care. The Teleri considered his protests quaint, charming, even in a human way, but irrelevant. And so, Eli Sanders became, against all reason, the accidental consort of the alien queen. The first days in the palace were a blur of protocols, alien foods, and confusing customs. Eli learned quickly that Teleri etiquette was impossible to memorize in a single sitting. One wrong gesture, like pointing with the wrong finger, could be an insult. A wrong tone of thought could be considered a challenge to the queen. And Eli, being human, was exceptionally bad at remembering rules. But surprisingly, the queen didn't seem angry. She was curious, fascinated even. She watched him stumble through ceremonies with a mixture of amusement and intrigue. "You are unusual," Zira said one morning, as Eli tried to politely bow and ended up doing a somersault instead. "That's me," Eli replied, embarrassed, but trying to grin. "Human ingenuity. We fall and call it style." Zira's eyes shifted through colors that Eli guessed meant laughter. "Your species is bold," she said. "Unpredictable. They may need guidance. You need guidance." Interesting combination. Eli realized something important then. He might have blundered into marriage, but humans had a certain charm that even the alien queen couldn't ignore. Life in the palace was not all awkward bows and accidental insults. Eli quickly discovered the amazing technology and wonders of Zathira. Rooms shifted and reconfigured themselves. Food floated into place. Creatures with translucent wings flitted silently in corridors. And the palace itself seemed alive, responding to the queen's moods. Eli was both terrified and enchanted. And yet, despite all the wonders, there were political tensions. Some nobles whispered behind closed doors, wondering if a human consort could undermine the queen's authority. Eli overheard phrases like dangerous and fragile alliance. He realized he was not just a guest, he was a pawn. But humans were not known for giving up easily. Eli decided he would not be a pawn, not if he could help it. He began paying attention, learning Talari ways, and slowly finding his own rhythm within the palace. He discovered that humans had an advantage the Talari rarely expected, thinking outside the rules. When the court presented a problem with a rigid, predictable solution, Eli often found an unusual answer that no Talari had considered. It didn't make him a hero yet, but it made him. Notice Zira began asking for his opinions on matters of diplomacy and defense. And although he was terrified each time, he answered honestly, relying on instinct and human creativity. One evening, Eli found himself in the palace gardens, floating terraces. With streams of glowing water and plants that shimmered with inner light, he had been trying to memorize Talari customs when Zira appeared, silently as though she had always been there. "You are learning," she said. Her voice wasn't loud. It was like a gentle vibration through his mind. "I think I have to," Eli replied. "If I don't, I'll accidentally start a war, or get eaten, or something." Zira laughed, a sound that vibrated through the air like music. "Perhaps all three. Perhaps none. Humans are chaotic, but fascinating." Eli smiled nervously. "I think humans are fascinating too. We tend to survive situations where other species don't survive." Zira asked, her eyes narrowing. "Your species is fragile, easily broken. Why do you endure?" "Because we try," Eli said simply, "and we learn. And sometimes we laugh at things that terrify us." There was silence, and then Zira's 6 arms folded. "Perhaps this marriage was not an accident. Perhaps it is. A trial." Eli's stomach did a flip. "Trial. Yes," she said. "A test. If you can survive this, you may earn something no human has ever had. Respect here in my court." Eli gulped. "Respect? I'll try." Zira's colors shifted in a way he understood his approval. "Good. Begin." And so it began, the unplanned, unwanted, but strangely promising life of a human married to an alien queen. Eli had no idea what challenges awaited him, but he had learned one important lesson already. Humans could survive almost anything, especially when clever, bold, and a little bit reckless. He didn't know if he would survive the next week, or the next day, but somehow in the chaos, he felt alive. And perhaps, just perhaps, he had made a place for himself in the most alien palace in the galaxy. Life in the Talari Palace was nothing like Eli had imagined. Each day was a mixture of wonder, confusion, and terror. After the initial shock of being accidentally married to Queen Zira, Eli thought things might settle into a routine. He was wrong. Very wrong. The palace itself was alive in ways humans couldn't fully understand. Corridors shifted subtly, almost like the building was breathing. Rooms reconfigured themselves when no one was looking. And staircases sometimes curved mid-air, forcing Eli to hold tightly to glowing railings that appeared when he stepped near. Even the lights seemed alive, changing color with the queen's moods. Eli quickly learned that the Tiari were masters of observation. Every action mattered. One wrong movement, one misplaced gesture, and he could offend the entire court. His human instincts, blunt and clumsy, often got him into trouble. "Good morning, Eli," said a voice in his mind one morning as he struggled to bow properly in front of Zira. "Your efforts are commendable, but still chaotic." Eli looked up to see the queen hovering gracefully, her 6 arms folded elegantly. "Thanks," he muttered, trying not to trip over the invisible line marking the boundary of respect. "I call it style." "Style," Zira said, her voice vibrating with amusement, "is subjective. Survival is not. You must learn quickly if you are to endure." Eli nodded, though he had no idea if he truly understood what endure meant in this context. The first major challenge came in the form of the Talari Council, a group of highly intelligent, long-lived aliens who controlled much of Zithara's politics. They were not pleased with a human intruding on their queen's decisions, if that intrusion is technically accidental. At the first council meeting Eli attended, he sat stiffly on a floating platform, listening to debates in a language that was part sound, part telepathy. He understood the meaning of words, but the nuance, the cultural weight was nearly impossible to grasp. "The human may not understand our traditions," one counselor whispered to another, "yet the queen accepts him. It is troubling, he may prove. Useful," another said cautiously. "Humans are unpredictable." Perhaps this unpredictability is an advantage. Eli nearly choked on the mental projection of their words. Useful advantage? He couldn't tell if that was praise or a polite threat. The first test came when a diplomatic delegation from a nearby planet arrived. The humans had not been trained in alien negotiation, and Eli realized he had to act fast. The visiting delegates were aggressive and suspicious, viewing humans as weak and insignificant. If negotiations failed, it could spark an interplanetary incident. Eli took a deep breath and decided to rely on human creativity. While the Talari diplomats relied on complex rituals and rigid protocol, Ayla suggested simple solutions. Small gifts of Earth technology, gestures of goodwill, and direct communication. The Talari court was skeptical at first, but the delegates were impressed. In a surprising turn, Eli's bold, straightforward approach calmed tensions, earning cautious respect from the alien diplomats. Zira watched silently, her colors shifting slowly. After the meeting, she approached Eli. "You are unusual," she said. "No Talari has ever approached diplomacy in this manner. You risked much, yet it worked." Eli scratched the back of his neck. "I just tried not to get us all killed." "You are human," Zira said, with a tone that seemed almost fond. "It is remarkable. Perhaps your species is stronger than we thought." Despite small successes, Eli's life was not free of danger. Some counselors openly resisted his presence, whispering about plots and schemes to undermine him. Eli quickly realized that surviving the palace meant paying attention to every word, every glance, every thought that flickered in others' minds. One night, he discovered a secret passage while exploring the palace, something humans would call a hidden corridor, but the Talari called the path of observation. It led to chambers where conspiracies were whispered, and Eli overheard a plot to discredit him. "They intend to expose him as incapable," one counselor murmured, thinking no human could understand their telepathy. "The queen may be deceived," Eli smiled. Humans had survived trickier situations with less. He decided to use his knowledge of the palace and human cunning to turn the plot against them. The next day, during a ceremonial event, he subtly misdirected the counselor's messages. Using a combination of Talari mental etiquette and human improvisation, by the time the Queen noticed, the conspirators had inadvertently exposed their own plan, looking foolish. Zyra's eyes glowed softly. "You are clever," she said. "It is rare for a human to navigate our minds so quickly. You may yet survive." This trial, Eli felt a mixture of pride and terror. Survival was still uncertain, but he realized that humans had a unique advantage. They could improvise, act boldly, and find solutions outside rigid rules. As days passed, Eli began to understand more about Talari culture. He learned that their society valued honesty, courage, and ingenuity, qualities humans possessed in abundance. This slowly shifted his role from accidental guest to respected advisor. Though he never forgot that he was still considered the Queen's mate, an accidental title that brought him both privilege and danger. Zyra, for her part, seemed genuinely interested in human thought. She asked Eli questions about Earth, about humans' problem-solving skills, about humor and emotion. Eli found himself explaining things he had never thought about deeply. "Humans survive because we adapt," he said one evening, walking with her on a balcony overlooking glowing alien forests. "We make mistakes. We get scared. We fail. Sometimes. But we try again. That's why we last." Zyra's colors shifted thoughtfully. "Perhaps. This is why your species is respected in some quarters of the galaxy. Boldness, even in the face of danger, is admirable." Eli smiled, a little embarrassed. "I guess we don't always look impressive, but we keep going. We keep going," Zyra repeated. "I see it in you. I find it intriguing." Eli's stomach flipped. He had no idea if that was approval, curiosity, or something else entirely. With Zyra, every moment carried meaning he could not fully understand, but humans were good at learning. And he was determined to adapt. Then came the first real test of life and death stakes. A minor alien species attempted a raid on the palace outskirts, testing the Talari defenses. Security forces scrambled. But traditional strategies were failing. Against the unexpected tactics of the raiders, Eli realized that he could offer a human perspective. While the Talari relied on telepathic coordination and formal plans, Eli suggested unconventional tactics, diversions using holograms, unexpected traps, and simple tricks that confused the attackers. It was risky. If it failed, he would look foolish, or worse, endanger everyone. But Eli trusted in human ingenuity. He led a small group of Talari security forces in executing his plan. The raiders were caught off guard, unable to adapt to the chaotic, unpredictable human strategy. The palace was saved with minimal damage. After the victory, the court murmured in astonishment. Eli had not only survived, but he had proved humans could be more effective than even the Talari expected. Zyra hovered near him, her colors warm and bright.
"You are remarkable."
"You risked much, and yet you triumphed. Perhaps the humans are stronger than we knew." Eli blinked. "Well, we're definitely loud and annoying, but yes. We try." Her laugh resonated in his mind. "Your audacity. It is appealing." "Perhaps it is. Why this?" Marriage was meant to be. Eli groaned inwardly. He still had no idea what meant to be entailed. But for the first time, he felt a glimmer of acceptance in this alien court. Humans were unpredictable. They were chaotic. They made mistakes. And somehow, that chaos worked in their favor. By the end of the second month, Eli had transformed from a terrified human stumbling through alien customs into a respected presence in the Talari court. He was still clumsy, still human, but the palace began to treat him differently. No longer just a curiosity, he was now a resource, a thinker, and a problem solver. The Queen, too, began to change. She asked for his thoughts on security, diplomacy, and strategy. She even invited him to share human humor, though she often misunderstood the subtleties. Eli found himself teaching Zyra simple jokes, explaining why humans laughed at absurdity. She responded with curiosity and an unexpected warmth. Eli realized that perhaps the accidental marriage had opened doors he could never have imagined. He had survived by being human, bold, clever, and willing to act when others hesitated. And in the process, he had begun earning respect, admiration, maybe even friendship from the most powerful alien in the galaxy. But he knew the true challenges had only just begun. The Talari were not easily impressed, and the galaxy beyond Zathera would not wait for humans to learn at their pace. There were larger threats, aliens who would not respect a human's cleverness. Dangers that would test courage, loyalty, and wit. Eli Sanders, the human who had looked at the alien queen the wrong way, now understood something profound. Humans could survive, adapt, and even thrive among the stars. And perhaps if he played his cards right, they could even shine for now. He took a deep breath, looked at Zyra, and whispered to himself, "One day at a time, Eli. One day at a time." Eli Sanders had survived the first 2 months in the Talari Palace. He had stumbled through cultural etiquette, survived political intrigue, and even outsmarted a few conspirators. He had learned the subtle art of staying alive while earning respect. But nothing prepared him for what came next. It started with a tremor, not in the palace, but deep in the ground beneath Zathera. Eli had never felt an earthquake in his life, and he hoped he never would again. But the palace's floating terraces shivered. The glow in the walls flickered, and a loud, low hum filled the air, vibrating through every bone in his body. "Eli," Zyra's voice hummed in his mind, calm but urgent. "You must come now." He followed her without a word. Humans might panic. Eli tried to control it. He moved swiftly across corridors that shifted unnervingly, so the palace itself sensed danger. At the council chamber, chaos reigned. Talari delegates were shouting in a mix of sound and thought, trying to understand the sudden tremor. Outside the palace, scout reports came in. A fleet of alien warships, identified and hostile, was approaching Zathera's orbit. "They mean to invade," a counselor said, eyes wide. "They believe the Queen's marriage to a human shows weakness. They seek to exploit it." Eli felt his heart thump. Humans had faced danger before, sure, but this was interstellar war. And he, a human, was expected to help defend a planet whose people had been suspicious of him just weeks ago. Zyra hovered near him, her colors shifting rapidly, signaling both urgency and tension. "Eli, your perspective. We require unconventional thinking. Our usual strategies will fail." Eli swallowed. Humans survived by improvising. They thrived on boldness. And, as he had discovered, they had a knack for turning chaos into advantage. He took a deep breath. First, he said, "We need to confuse them. Hit them where they don't expect it." The Talari Council looked skeptical. Confusion was unpredictable. But Eli didn't wait for approval. He moved to a holographic display of the approaching fleet, using a combination of Earth tactics and Talari technology. He plotted decoys, holographic ships, energy signatures meant to mimic fleet movements, and false signals designed to mislead the attackers. "Humans often win by tricking the opponent," he explained. "It's unusual, but effective." Zyra's colors flickered as if she were considering something profound. "You may be correct. Implement your strategy." The palace came alive. Talari engineers and Eli worked side by side, blending human creativity with alien precision. He directed drones and unexpected flight patterns, manipulated energy shields to simulate phantom attacks, and even suggested using floating terraces to create temporary, defensive barriers that the attackers would not anticipate. Hours passed. Eli's hands ached. Sweat ran down his face. Yet he kept going, because humans were good at one thing above all: acting when it mattered most. When the enemy fleet entered Zathera's orbit, chaos reigned, but it was the chaos Eli had planned. The enemy misread the defenses. Holographic ships distracted them. Energy shields rerouted attacks. Drones harried their flanks. In short, What seemed like disorganized panic to an outsider was actually a brilliantly orchestrated defense. By the time the Talari forces engaged fully, the attackers were already off balance, disoriented, and vulnerable. A counterattack led by Talari forces struck decisively. The fleet was repelled, suffering unexpected losses. While the palace remained safe, after the battle, the palace was quiet. The halls shimmered with soft light. Zira hovered near Eli, her colors gentle, warm, and steady. "You, humans," she said slowly. "You survive. You adapt. You succeed. When others would fail," Eli wiped sweat from his brow. "We try. Sometimes we fail first, but we keep going. That's humans." Zyra's eyes, those deep, shifting pools, studied him. "I underestimated you? Perhaps I underestimated your species. You are remarkable, bold, clever, unpredictable." Eli chuckled nervously. "Unpredictable is one word for it? I'd say stubborn, too." Her laughter, soft and melodic, filled the chamber. Eli realized something profound. Humans had earned not only respect, but trust in the days that followed. The Talari court treated Eli differently. He was no longer just the Queen's accidental consort or a curiosity. He was a valued advisor, a representative of human ingenuity and courage. His mistakes were tolerated, even celebrated, as long as they were accompanied by clever solutions. Even the counselors who had opposed him now acknowledged his skill. Some approached him privately, seeking guidance. Eli, for the first time in his life, felt truly appreciated for who he was, not just what he had done. And Zira began to change too. She asked for his opinions on decisions large and small. She listened when he spoke of Earth, of humans' creativity, and of the strange but effective ways humans solved problems. Slowly, the bond between them grew not out of obligation, but mutual respect and curiosity. One evening, Eli and Zira walked across the palace gardens under the alien stars. The forest shimmered with phosphorescent light. Strange creatures flitted past, curious and unafraid. "You have changed the court," Zira said quietly. "They see humans differently now. You made them understand." Eli shrugged. "I just did what humans do. We survive. We think, we act, we improvise." Zira's colors pulsed gently. "It is admirable. I am impressed. Perhaps this marriage was not accidental. Perhaps it was destiny." Eli swallowed. He had heard the word destiny from humans before, but never from an alien queen. "Destiny?" he asked. I don't know about that. I just tried not to screw everything up." Zira laughed softly, and for the first time, Eli felt the warmth of genuine connection. Perhaps destiny is surviving together and thriving together. Eli's heart skipped. He wasn't sure he fully understood the depth of her words, but he felt them. Nonetheless, weeks passed, and Eli continued to adapt. He learned Talari strategies, improved palace security, and even taught the Queen a few human problem-solving tricks. They faced smaller crises, rogue traders, diplomatic disputes, and natural disasters. Each time, Eli relied on humans' greatest strengths: creativity, courage, and adaptability to find solutions that impressed the court. Every success deepened his bond with Zira. She respected him. He respected her. The accidental marriage, born of misunderstanding, had evolved into a partnership of equals. The Talari court, once suspicious and wary, now acknowledged that humans could contribute in ways that no one had imagined. Eli had shown them that humans were not weak, fragile, or naive. They were resilient, clever, and courageous, capable of shining even among the stars. The story of Eli Sanders' human, accidental consort, and problem solver spread quietly among the Talari. Other species in Zithra's orbit began to notice too. Humans, thought to be insignificant, had proven that courage, ingenuity, and persistence could overcome fearsome odds. and Eli. He looked at Zyra one evening, floating above a stream of silver water, her colors calm and bright. "I still can't believe this started because I looked at you the wrong way," he said. Zyra tilted her head, her expression unreadable. Then her colors shifted warmly. "Perhaps it was meant to be. You have survived. You have learned. You have impressed. Humans are extraordinary," Eli smiled. For the first time, he didn't feel like a visitor, a pawn, or a curiosity. He felt like a human, bold, clever, and capable. And somehow, through accident and courage, he had earned a place among the stars. Beside the alien queen, respected and valued for what humans truly were, the accidental marriage had become something more. Not just survival, but partnership. Not just respect, but trust. And perhaps, though he didn't say it aloud, something even closer to friendship. Or more. Eli Sanders had looked at the alien queen the wrong way. And in doing so, he had changed the course of his life. Proved the worth of humanity. And shown the Tellurian, the galaxy, that humans could shine brighter than anyone expected. For now, he could rest. For now, he had survived. And tomorrow, humans would continue to thrive, one bold, clever, audacious step at a time.